Valued at over $30 billion, Louis Vuitton is the #1 luxury brand in the world. Its history dates back to the 19th century and begins with a homeless teenager who could only dream of success. Fleeing from a wicked stepmother at the age of 13, a young Louis walked 292 miles from his small hometown in Paris in search of a better life. Living on the streets with no money or food, he worked odd jobs with artisans and craftsmen to barely survive, but learned valuable skills that led to pioneering iconic designer luggage and creating a billion-dollar empire. Now this is what you would call a real success story. Intrigued? You should be. Vuitton was born on August 4th of 1821 in Ancay, a small hamlet in eastern France's mountainous, heavily wooded Jura region. Descended from a long-established working-class family, Vuitton's ancestors were joiners, carpenters, farmers, and milliners. His father, Xavier, was a farmer, and his mother, Couronne Galliard, was a milliner. Vuitton's mother passed away when he was only 10 years old, and his father soon remarried. As legend has it, Vuitton's new stepmother was as severe and wicked as any fairy tale Cinderella villain. A stubborn and headstrong child antagonized by his stepmother and bored by the provincial life in Ancay, Vuitton resolved to run away. On the first day of tolerable weather in the spring of 1835, at the age of 13, Vuitton left home alone and on foot bound for Paris. He traveled for more than 2 years, taking odd jobs to feed himself along the way and staying wherever he could find shelter. As he walked the 292-mile trek from his native Ancay to Paris, he arrived in 1837 at the age of 16 to a capital city in the thick of an industrial revolution that had produced a litany of contradictions: awe-inspiring grandeur and abject poverty, rapid growth, and devastating epidemics. The teenage Vuitton was taken in as an apprentice in the workshop of a successful boxmaker and packer named Monsieur Marchal. In 19th century Europe, boxmaking and packing was a highly respectable and urbane craft. A boxmaker and packer custom made all boxes to fit the goods they stored and personally loaded and unloaded the boxes. It took Vuitton only a few years to stake out a reputation amongst Paris's fashionable class as one of the city's premier practitioners of this new craft. Vuitton got lucky. Napoleon Bonaparte staged a coup d'etat. Exactly 1 year later, he assumed the title of Emperor of the French under the regal name Napoleon III. The re-establishment of the French Empire under Napoleon III proved incredibly fortunate for the young Vuitton. Napoleon III's wife, the Empress of France, was Eugenie de Montijo, a Spanish countess. Upon marrying the emperor, she hired Vuitton as her personal boxmaker and packer and charged him with, quote, packing the most beautiful clothes in an exquisite way, hence providing a gateway for Vuitton to a class of elite and royal clientele who would seek his services for the duration of his life. For Vuitton, 1854 was a full year of change and transformation. It was in that year that Vuitton met a 17-year-old beauty named Clémence Émile Périot. His great-grandson, Henry Louis Vuitton, later recounted, in the blink of an eye, he exchanged the cloth frock and hobnailed shoes of a worker for the courting outfit of the day. The transformation was spectacular, but it required all the know-how of the store's department manager, since Louis' shoulders were much larger than those of Parisian bureaucrats. Vuitton and Périot married in that spring on April 22nd of 1854. A few months after his marriage, Vuitton left Monsieur Marchal's shop and opened his own boxmaking and packing workshop in Paris. The sign outside the shop read, "Securely packs the most fragile objects, specializing in packing fashions." In 1858, 4 years after opening his own shop, Vuitton debuted an entirely new trunk. Instead of leather, it was made of a gray canvas that was lighter, more durable, and more impervious to water and odors. However, the key selling point was that unlike all previous trunks, which were dome-shaped, Vuitton's trunks were rectangular, making them stackable and far more convenient for shipping via new means of transport like the railroad and steamship. Most commentators consider Vuitton's trunk the birth of modern luggage. In 1859, Vuitton expanded his business with a new site in Asnières, a suburb a few miles outside of Paris, for its 20 employees and providing both a home for his family and a new headquarters for the business. The site remains a symbol of the brand's heritage and success to this day, with 170 craftsmen currently working on site to create special orders for important clients. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Because of the popularity of all Louis Vuitton designs, the company company suffered from plagiarism a lot. To overcome this, Louis started using a beige and brown stripe in his design, a big change from the old gray. To make matters worse, the Franco-Prussian War from 1870 to 1872 made for a setback in Louis Vuitton's career as his entire business was destroyed. But he managed to reestablish it and set up new workshops on 1 Rue Scribe in central Paris. And the business grew even bigger than it was before the war, and in 1885, the company opened its first shop outside of France on Oxford Street in London. Nevertheless, with the growing popularity, the plagiarism also got worse, forcing Louis Vuitton to create a new design once again. And in 1888, the damier canvas pattern was created, including the trademarked logo reading Marqué L. Vuitton d'Exposé. In 1886, with safety as a primary concern for Vuitton's wealthy clients, the invention of the unpickable lock by Louis' son Georges presented an important USP for the business. To prove its effectiveness, the brand challenged famous escapist Harry Houdini to escape from one of its trunks. While Houdini did not accept the offer, the effectiveness of the lock remains undisputed and is still used today. For the next 20 years, Vuitton continued to operate out of 1 Rue Scribe, innovating high-quality luxury luggage until he died on February 27th of 1892 at the age of 70. But the Louis Vuitton line would not die with its eponymous founder. His son, Georges, created and patented one of the brand's longest-lasting signatures, the LV monogram canvas. Ironically, introduced to prevent counterfeiting of the brand's designs, it has gone on to become one of the most famous and widely copied designs in the world. The company's famous LV monogram and future generations of Vuittons, the Louis Vuitton brand would grow into the world-renowned luxury leather and lifestyle brand it remains today. In 1914, the Louis Vuitton building opened up the Champs-Élysées, becoming the world's largest travel goods store. It was immediately patronized by Paris's fashion elite, including Coco Chanel. The Keepall and Speedy bags made their debut in 1930, becoming instant and enduring hits. Marking the brand's expansion from travel into bags for personal use, they were followed by 1932 by the Noe, a bag originally designed to carry champagne vintners. All three remain some of the brand's most popular styles to this day. In 1936, Georges Vuitton died and was succeeded by his son Gaston Louis Vuitton, who continued the Louis Vuitton legacy. Bit of a scandal, a somewhat forgotten part of the brand's history, Louis Vuitton openly supported and collaborated with the Nazis during the German occupation of France at the behest of members of the Vuitton family. The episode remained largely undiscussed until the 2004 publication of Stephanie Bovinci's book Louis Vuitton, a French saga. In 1970, Gaston Louis passed away and the reins were handed on to his son-in-law Henry Rickamer. The brand's push for international expansion continued, and in 1984, on the recommendation of financial director Joseph Lafont, Louis Vuitton became a publicly traded company. 3 years later, Louis Vuitton merged with Moet & Chandon and Hennessy to form LVMH, a move which cemented the international reputation and influence of the three luxury brands. It has since grown to become one of the dominant forces in luxury retail, controlling 75 brands under 60 subsidiaries in industries spanning fashion, jewelry, wine and spirits, travel, and more. To celebrate the 100th anniversary of its iconic monogram, in 1996, Louis Vuitton commissioned 6 designers to create original pieces in its honor. The resulting pieces, a vinyl box of Hamlet Lang, a backpack with a built-in umbrella by Sibilla, a hiking bag from Romeo Gigla, a shoe trunk by Manolo Blahnik, a weekend bag by Isaac Mizrahi, and a bustle bag by Vivienne Westwood, were exhibited around the world, drawing huge crowds of fashion fans. A year later, American designer Marc Jacobs was appointed as an artistic director and immediately set about creating the brand's first ready-to-wear fashion line for men and women, which was presented in March 1998. 4 years later, Jacobs enlisted artist Stefan Sprouse to create a line of limited edition bags customized with Sprouse's signature graffiti, with select pieces available only to Vuitton's VIP clients. This year also saw Jacobs create the band's first piece of jewelry, a charm bracelet, and begin a campaign to enlist some of the world's biggest stars, including Angelina Jolie, Sean Connery, Scarlett Johansson and Jennifer Lopez as ambassadors. Building on the success of its Sprouse collaboration, Takashi Muramaki was called upon to create a new line of monogram multicolor bags and accessories. The range remained the classic LV monogram in 33 different colors on black and white backgrounds and drew a new, younger clientele into the Louis Vuitton world. In 2007, the latest in Louis Vuitton's long line of bags, the Neverfull, was introduced. So named for its ability to carry up to 200 pounds, the simple tote has endured as one of the brand's signature designs. In 2018, Virgil Abloh was confirmed as an artistic director of menswear, replacing Kim Jones and becoming the label's first African-American artistic director. Enlisted to instill some of the streetwear spirit of his own land, Off-White, his first collection, was shown at the Palais Royal during Paris Men's Fashion Week. A year later, Louis Vuitton was named by Forbes as the world's most valuable luxury brand, worth $39.3 billion. It was estimated to turn profits north of 30%. And of course, the brand's cases have long been hit with the world's most fashionable. Coco Chanel carried them, as did the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, who were great party throwers and traveled with a wardrobe trunk. Audrey Hepburn, Catherine Deneuve, and Lauren Bacall were just some of the legendary 20th century stars who bought into the monogram. More recently, it's became a hit with Kim Kardashian West, Sarah Jessica Parker, Rihanna, the Beckhams, and the Hades. Not only was Madonna the face of Louis Vuitton in 2009, she even has a bag named after her. The summer of that year, LV released the LTD Kalahari Madonna GM bag, additionally named after the famous Kalahari Desert in sub-Saharan Africa. She was one of Marc Jacobs' muses, while he was at Louis Vuitton and he directed her photo shoots for the 2009 campaign. She's worn custom LV pieces on the red carpet numerous times and has been captured by paparazzi carrying the Pulp Weekender in many public appearances. She additionally wears the brand's fashions and accessories privately and has posted pictures on her personal social media accounts where she shows off some monogram printed clothes. Actress and activist Angelina Jolie is almost never out in public without an iconic Louis Vuitton bag by her side. From comfy tote classics such as the Cabas series, she owns all the sizes, to more youthful and edgy fashion pieces like the Louis Vuitton and Louboutin collaboration Iconoclast tote. She's apparently acquired an extensive collection of different Vuitton pieces. Last but not least, she was one of many stars photographed by Anne Leibovitz for the Louis Vuitton Core Values ad campaign in 2011. Recently, street style and music have been making it big in popular culture, and rap artist Tyga represents a younger generation of LV fans. Flexing brands and visible patterns of luxury brands have been a huge hit with the more edgy crowd, and more classic Louis Vuitton monogram is no exception. He boasts a collection of monogramouflage clothing, recently released bags, and accessories. One of his most memorable fashion-related appearances, he wore the monogram canvas jacket designed by Virgil Abloh. Louis Vuitton remains one of the most popular luxury brands in the world, and we don't see this changing anytime soon. They're still creating limited edition collections every season, and regularly collaborate with various artists and designers, creating even more unique items. This, in combination with all of the iconic items that the brand has created over the years, makes it an incredibly exciting brand. If only Louis knew the legacy he was going to leave behind as he set off on his fateful 2-year journey to Paris back in 1835.